Hey, welcome back again to Max Nave Horsemanship. And yeah, I said it's frequently windy, and of course, just as I decided I'm going to do a video, the wind picks up. So please excuse the wind noise. I decided I'm going to go ahead and do it anyhow. So there may be a little bit of wind noise in this video, but not super critical. Just pay attention and watch what I'm doing. That's more important than what I'm saying in this one, because this is going to be largely a repeat of things I've said in a couple other videos where I talk about not using any more than you have to. Use as much force as necessary, but no more than necessary. And when it comes to using your tools, be it your flag stick or whatever you're using, know when it's time to stop using it. And that's what this video is all about, because I'm going to go get a horse here and I'm going to give you a real life demonstration of how little force is actually needed to get your horse to do what you want it to do. I made the mistake, not the last one I'll make, I'm sure. I made the mistake of coming in here with my flag a while ago, and none of the horses were too concerned at first, but as soon as I gave it a good shake, the whole herd went running, so I decided, okay, that's definitely more than I need. At that point, it was very obvious that was not the tool for the job. So since then, I've been using nothing but my lead rope. And I'm going to show you how that works. I'm going to show you how sensitive a horse it can be once it understands what you want. And this is why I say it's very important to make sure you're clear to the horse so it knows what you want, because then you don't have to escalate to using flags and sticks and things like that to get the horse to do what you want it to do. If they understand what you want, most times they'll gladly do what you want. Now this guy here, allegedly he's had some training, but I don't know how much, because he's still pretty nervous. And a lot of times he acts like he doesn't really know what I want. It's also been many years since he's had any training. I don't think, from what I can understand, I've been trying to put pieces together from things I've been told, and it sounds like he has not ever been ridden. And he's already somewhere in the neighborhood of 14, maybe 15 years old, and he's never been ridden, which is kind of sad that a horse has not been ridden, because he's a real nice guy. He's smart, he's willing, he's sensitive. But I'm going to be back in just a minute. I'm going to show you exactly what that sensitivity can be. Okay, so I've got me a horse here, and you've seen this one before. You might not see too much of him after this, though, because this entire herd is going to be getting moved to their summer home. So that around here it's not uncommon for horses to get moved from summer to winter places. Yeah. Anyhow, but that's not what we're here for today. Today I want to show you how little you need, again, and I'm just going to give you a little example. Now, typically you'd ask the horse to go, then give a cluck, then waves your flag. Well, for him, he doesn't need a flag. He's a little too sensitive for that. And we haven't done any of this with him today, and I've only done it a couple of times too, so he might be a little jumpy, and this might not be super smooth looking, but that's not why we're doing this. We're doing it to show you what you need. Now, if I want him to move, and I point, and he doesn't move, well, first off, a little cluck. Oh, that didn't work either. Darn. Well, I'm going to make sure I position myself in such a place that I can drive him. And all I got here is about 1 foot of the end of my lead rope. He was a little too close for my liking, so I just waved it near his shoulder, just behind his shoulder, to drive him forward. And that's all it takes. Like I said, only about 1 foot of lead rope here, hanging out. I'm just going to switch hands so I can go the other way now. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to point, and now we've done this. So that's all it took. That's how easy it was. We've only done this a few times. Let me see, he scurried a little. He got a little concerned there. I'll just ask him to go again. There we go. Nice and relaxed. But you notice I'm not even spinning my lead rope. It's here in case I need it, but I'm not using it. I'm not even clucking or nothing. And he's doing what I want him to do, which doesn't stop quite as nice as I'd like, but then, this is all pretty new stuff. And I'm just going to disengage him by moving in towards his back end without pulling on the lead. There we go. That gets him a little concerned if I touch him. No, didn't ask you to go that way. No, unfortunately I don't have my lead. But see, I'm just going to use my lead now. See, he wants to go the wrong way. And so I'm pointing. I'm just going to use a tiny bit of my lead rope, just give it a little spin, and away he goes the other way. See, that's all it took. Now, as you can tell by the way he moves, he's obviously had very little handling or training, and so he gets a little concerned when I ask him to do things, but that's okay. That's not what this is about. This is about showing you how little you need to use. And when I asked him to move both directions, I only had maybe that much lead out that I spun. That's all it took and sometimes I didn't even have to. And when I asked him to disengage, I didn't use my lead at all. I just put my hand out and I just touched him on it. I unfortunately actually had to touch him this time. Sometimes I don't, but that's how little you need. You don't have to poke them, jab them, whip them, stick them, hit them with the lead or spin the lead at them or anything. I'll try this one more time with nothing but my bare hand, and we'll see what happens. Because I think it'll work, because this guy's pretty sensitive. And that's why I said it's very important that you figure out what works for your horse so that you don't overdo it. Otherwise, eventually that horse becomes what is commonly referred to as dull or hard-mouthed or hard-sided. And next thing you know, you're using harsh bits and spurs and all kinds of things when you get to the riding part. But if you start off at the beginning with very soft cues, then when you ride them, you only need very soft cues. And so here we go again. I'm going to, just using my bare hand, see if I can get him to move. Here we go. Didn't even touch him. All I did was hold my hand out, and we got a really nice disengage there. Probably wasn't well in view of the camera, but there we go. And you see, when I want him to come into me here, a little force I'm using, 2 fingers, that's all the pressure we're putting on the halter, and he moves off of that. And that's all you need to be using, because if you use any more than that, that's what the horse is going to get used to. And then, like I said, you're going to have problems. You always start off, as I've said before, with the softest cue that you can possibly use, which is the one that you actually want in the end. And eventually, if you have to, you escalate up from there until you get response from the horse. But pretty soon, the horse learns that very soft cue is telling him something, and he learns what that is, and he'll respond to it. And you don't have to go any further than that. But this was a perfect example of how little you need, and don't go beyond that, or you're going to have problems. Like I said, eventually you're going to be using harsh bits and spurs when you get to the riding part, and well, that's not what you want. You want a horse that'll pretty much do what you think, and ultimately that is kind of my goal. Is I want a horse that's that soft that, when I ask it to do something, I don't get in a fight with it. I'm not yanking and pulling and kicking and hitting and none of that stuff, because that's just, if you have to resort to that, there's something definitely wrong. So just remember, when you're working with a horse, yours or somebody else's, you got to figure out what is appropriate for that horse, and don't use any more than you have to. And again, this guy just demonstrated how little you actually need sometimes. And he's pretty green. From what I can tell from working with him, he has, although he allegedly has had some training, it's been very little, and maybe it was a little harsh, because sometimes when I ask him to do things, he gets a little nervous and jumps and scoots, and well, it's not nice and soft and smooth all the time. After we ask him to do something a couple of times, then he figures out, oh, you simply want me to do such and such. Yeah, okay, I can do that. And that's exactly what you're going to get from your horse too, and once they figure out what you want, if you're clear enough, you're going to get that. and it's not going to be a fight. But I just wanted to do a quick demonstration on that. I'll do it one more time, nothing but my bare hand, and I'm just going to disengage him here, get him to move his back end over, and oh, he's going to be a, there we go. I didn't have to touch him. He figured out what I wanted, and that was actually a very nice disengage that time. Nice and calm. He crossed over nicely. It was a true disengage. I explained that in other videos, the difference between shuffling sideways and doing a true disengage. There is a big difference, and it makes a big difference. But he did a true disengage, and he did it calmly. And considering that he is a little bit worried, and we haven't done a whole lot with him, that was pretty good. But I just wanted to demonstrate to you real life with a horse, not one of my own that's highly trained. This is this horse, although like I said, allegedly has had some training. I don't know what, I don't know how much or how, and it was definitely a very long time ago, something like 10 years ago, and I don't think it was very much from what I can tell, but overall he's doing pretty good. But you even just saw that little flinch there when my hand went up to his forehead. He kind of jerked his head back a little. Gives you an idea just how nervous he is. He's a little bit on the worried side, and that is to be expected from a horse in his state. You know, that's not a big deal. You know, not to me. You know, the more he learns, the better he gets. So there you go, folks. Just wanted to share that one with you, that you know, you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to use a flag and a whip and everything else. Sometimes you actually need very little. Have a good day.